Scholastic Audio presents Wings of Fire, Winglets, Book 5, Hero, A Wings of Fire Story, by Tui T. Sutherland, read by Shannon Mc Manus. Author note. Note: the events of this story take place in the years leading up to and during Book 1, The Dragonette Prophecy. Once upon a time, in a glorious kingdom full of valiant dragons, high upon the tallest mountain in the claws of the clouds, deep within a grand castle, lived a terrifying evil queen who struck fear into the hearts of every dragon she saw. And also, her brave and amazing grandson, the most interesting Skywing prince in the history of the world. That's right, it's me, Prince Cliff of the Skywings. And this is the story of how the world got super lucky to have me. And almost didn't. Gasp. You see, that terrifying evil queen was named Queen Scarlet of the Skywings, and she was very mean and didn't like anyone, most especially anyone prettier than her, like my mom, or scarier than her, or anyone who might take her throne one day, like my mom. So she only had one daughter. Well, one alive daughter. Her name is Ruby. And she is the best mom and best dragon ever. And Scarlet told that daughter, "No dragonettes! None! No royal baby dragons in this castle!" Why? Because a granddaughter might try to take Scarlet's throne. And you can guess what Scarlet thought of that idea. Growl and and boo hiss. But luckily for everyone, the great sky dragons in the clouds decided there was going to be one royal baby dragon after all. This is how it happened. A great and inevitable destiny begins. On the day that changed Jasper's life, the wind was too blustery for flying lessons, so Jasper was helping the dragonettes paint rocks instead. He stepped gently around two little dragons who were painting theirs to match, and paused beside a tiny scowling skywing. "Oh dear," he said. "What's wrong?" "It doesn't look like an eagle," Garnet shouted, brushing away angry tears. "I got a stupid rock. It's too bumpy and it hates me." "Rocks can be so mean that way," Jasper said. "Let me see." Garnet held it out on her palm. "Carnelian said it looks like a drowning chicken," she sniffled. "It does," Carnelian said from beside her. "Look, it's yelling for help and it's all wet." "No, it's ferocious and about to eat you," Garnet hollered. "Carnelian," Jasper interjected. "Please go take the red paint away from the 1-month-olds before they make the whole wingery look like a crime scene. But nicely, Carnelian." Carnelian huffed and flounced off across the tower. "That is clearly not a drowning chicken," Jasper said solemnly to Garnet. He picked up a blank rock and a paintbrush. "This is what a drowning chicken looks like." He sketched a few strokes and Garnet started to giggle. "What would you like to do?" he asked her as he added tail feathers. "Keep your majestic bird as is, paint over it, or try a new rock?" "New rock, I think," she said. "Can you make it look like an eagle?" "You can," he said. "Let's think about what an eagle has." By the time parents started arriving to pick up their dragonettes, there were painted rocks set out to dry on every ledge in the wingery, and Garnet had managed an eagle that even Carnelian couldn't make fun of. "See you tomorrow," Jasper called as each dragonette left. The other two caretakers were already yawning. Chasing dragonettes who were trying to fly was exhausting, but managing their squabbles on the days they didn't get to fly could be even worse. "I can finish cleaning up," he offered. "That would be blazing," Russet said. "You sure you don't mind?" "No problem at all." Jasper waved them away. He liked being alone in the wingery after everyone left. He liked setting things back in their places and making everything feel ready for the next day. It was shaping order out of chaos, recreating a space that was welcoming and safe for the little ones. Besides, he had no one waiting for him back in his rooms. He'd applied for a partner and permission to have dragonettes. So many times he'd lost track of how many, but the same answer kept coming back. Rejected. He didn't know why. He wanted dragonettes of his own more than anyone else he knew, and he thought he'd be a pretty good dad. He had plenty of experience from working in the wingery after all. And he wasn't particular about who he'd be assigned for a partner. He usually got along with everyone. And the one dragon he thought he could love was off limits anyway. It was difficult and dangerous to fall in love in Queen Scarlet's palace. Everyone was too terrified all the time. Every dragon was afraid of offending the queen and being singled out for special punishment. And having someone you loved, someone the queen knew you loved, made that punishment too easy. You also couldn't trust anyone, or be yourself around anyone, in case they secretly reported you. Every interaction with a stranger felt risky. What are they really thinking? What if they're one of Scarlet's loyal spies? Do they secretly hate me? At least, that's what it felt like to Jasper. It was why he preferred dragonettes. They'd always tell you what they really thought. They were still able to be purely, completely happy for entire moments at a time. And Scarlet found all dragonettes horrifying, so she never visited the wingery, which made it the best place in the Sky Palace in Jasper's book. All right. He had two theories about why his request kept being rejected. One, he wasn't a soldier. He couldn't be a soldier because sometimes his lungs didn't do what they were supposed to, and he had trouble breathing. Scarlet would probably have thrown him in the army anyway, but Jasper had a fairly wealthy and powerful grandmother who had most likely paid his weight in gold to make sure he stayed on the exemption list. But he wouldn't be surprised if no one on the exemption list was allowed to have dragonettes. That seemed like something Scarlet would do. Or two, he had personally offended Scarlet somehow, and he just didn't know how yet. It was horribly possible. She could hold a grudge for years and exact vengeance whenever she felt like it. Most of the dragons in the Sky Palace lived in an uneasy state of not being sure whether Scarlet was angry with them. But if either of those was the reason, there was nothing Jasper could do about it. He just had to keep trying and hoping something changed. He gathered the paint pots into a crate and headed down the hall to the wingery supply closet. Half the toys in the closet had been made or purchased by Jasper himself. The queen allotted no gold for dragonette care out of her treasury. He was sure if anyone asked her for toys, she'd suggest the dragonettes fill their time learning to fight each other instead. Definitely safer not to ask. They were lucky to even have a closet. Jasper breathed a small puff of flame at the closet torch as he stepped inside. Yep! Went something at the back of the closet. Jasper froze. So did the something. The closet shadows were still and silent. The games were lined up in order on the shelves. The large bundle of cloth the dragonettes used to play parachute leaned against the back wall, looking extremely normal and definitely not dragon-shaped. "Hello?" Jasper said cautiously. No response. There were literally hundreds of reasons why a dragon might be hiding in the wingery supply closet. Or rather, there was one reason with hundreds of minions, guards, and petty vendettas. Jasper set his crate on the art shelf and closed the door behind him. The torchlight flickered warmly in the small space. threading hints of gold between his orange and red scales. "It's all right," he said. "I won't tell anyone you're here." The parachute cloth radiated. "That would be great if there were a dragon under here, which of course there isn't, so no need to not tell anyone anything." Jasper picked up a runaway toy spatula and tucked it back into the right box. "But I should mention, there's another caretaker who comes in here sometimes. His name is Russet. He might come looking for something in the morning and... I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think he might be a dragon who sells information for gold. Things have happened. I don't know it was him. But anyway, just to warn you, you might want to be somewhere else by morning." A soft sigh. Cloth rustled, quietly folded aside as the hidden dragon peeked out. It was her. Jasper's heart stuttered, thumped around like a panicked dragonette, and threw his brain completely out of order. The princess. Scarlet's daughter, her one living heir, and perhaps the most forbidden dragon in the palace. Speaking to her could get you accused of conspiracy. Becoming friends with her? Probably treason. Falling in love with her was even worse. Out of the question. Punishable by death. And yet, there went Jasper's heart, where he couldn't follow. He'd loved her when they were small dragonettes, running and playing in the wingery. Back then, she'd had another name, and her scales had been a different color. Jasper didn't know how or why those had changed, but he knew deep in his bones that he'd better not say anything about it to anyone. Jasper had well, it was a sort of oddness that he didn't want to call a condition. He had trouble recognizing dragons by their faces. All faces looked essentially the same to him, which was a risky problem to have in the Sky Palace, where offending the wrong dragons was already so easy. He'd developed several coping mechanisms to deal with it and keep it hidden from others. For one, he'd made a brightly colored accessory for each dragonette in the wingery, which they put on as they came to the door in the morning. The other caretakers joked about how impossible it was to keep track of all the dragonettes before Jasper's brilliant idea, and the dragonettes loved each having a unique treasure. Nobody guessed Jasper's secret. He also worked hard on noticing. Things like scars, horn shapes, voices, and mannerisms that could help him identify a particular dragon. And there was no one he'd noticed more than his wingery playmate. So even after she'd changed, when she somehow had different scales, and everyone else called her by a different name, he knew it was still her. He recognized the way she tilted her head when she smiled, and the up-down half-flutter of her wings when she was nervous. It didn't matter whether she went by Tourmaline or Ruby. She was the dragon he loved, shouldn't love, and could never, ever admit he loved. "Princess Ruby," he said, bowing his head. "Hi," she said. "Jasper?" She remembers me. It had been so long, and who knew what had changed when she changed. But a memory of him was still in there, somewhere. "That's me," he said. He tried to keep his voice normal. He couldn't believe she was here, talking to him, in the same space as him. Scarlet kept her away from everyone at court. Ruby stayed tucked out of sight so no one would think, maybe that princess would make a better queen than the one we have. "What's wrong? Are you all right?" Ruby looked down at her claws. "I made Mother angry again. I was reading and she said something and I didn't hear her and, well, it doesn't matter. But I was just looking for somewhere quiet to stay out of her way." She did her nervous wing flutter, and the cloth slipped toward the floor. Jasper stepped forward and caught the parachute, gently untangling it from her wings. She took the other edge and started helping him fold it. "I didn't mean to mess up your closet," she said ruefully. "You didn't," he said. "Not at all. I don't mind if you want to hide in here anytime. Although, if you want somewhere safer, can I offer my rooms? Is that weird?" She looked up finally, her eyes wide and startled. "That's not safe for you," she said. 3 moons, Jasper. That's such a risky suggestion." "Is it?" he said. "She'd never look for you there. I'm in the wingery all day, so it would be quiet. And if I can help—" He stopped himself before he said, "I'd do anything for you." "Thank you," she said, lifting the last fold. "But I can't put you in danger like that." Their talons brushed as he took the cloth from her, her warm scales against his. He wondered if she remembered how they used to hide under a table in the wingery, claws linked together, and whisper their ideas for a better kingdom. "There's another reason it would be safer than you think," he said. "Can I show you?" "Jasper, if anything happens to you—" Ruby trailed off as she met his eyes. Whatever she saw there made her whole face soften, lines of anxiety vanishing. "Don't worry," he said. "Just for a moment. Let yourself stop worrying and come with me." "All right," she said. "But you go ahead first and I'll follow, so it doesn't look like we're together." "Plausible deniability," he said with a grin, and she laughed. She laughed. She does remember. Plausible deniability was their favorite joke when they were dragonettes, too small to pronounce the words correctly. They learned the phrase from something old Osprey said about a court case, and they were pretty sure it meant something like, "At least make it look like you didn't cause this trouble." Once, Tourmaline had accidentally spilled an entire jug of blueberry juice all over Jasper and immediately sprinted to the other side of the wingery shouting, "Plausible deniability! I was building this block tower and had nothing to do with it." "If you shout it, you are making it way more unplausible," Jasper had yelled after her, laughing and dripping wet. The smile faded from Ruby's face, and she rubbed her forehead, looking confused. Does she remember being Tourmaline? Did Scarlet do this to her? Jasper touched her wing with his. "If you lose me, I'll be in the herb garden." She nodded, and he left the closet, blowing out the torch as he went. Would she follow him? He didn't let himself look back, although it was a struggle. Was she really there? Had that really happened? Would she meet him in the garden? Or would she vanish back into the dark cloud of Scarlet's wrath, too far away for him to reach? The herb garden was a strange, walled space, open to the sky and accessible through a gate near the kitchens. Jasper didn't know the names of all the plants growing in neat beds, surrounded by stone pathways. Some of them had borders of tiny rodent skulls, which seemed like a pretty clear sign to stay away from them. There were hedges taller than dragons all through the garden. His best guess was that someone had grown them to make it easier to stay out of sight of anyone watching from the palace windows. The wind rushed his face as he stepped through the gate, tugging at his wings and whipping his tail. He checked every corner of the garden, breathing in the sharp scents of basil, mint, rosemary, and darker green smells. Empty. Quiet, but in a heavy, ominous way. The kitchen dragons gathered herbs around dawn, and then usually stayed far away from this place, if they could. It wasn't a friendly garden. Some of them whispered that it was haunted. Jasper circled back to the gate just as Ruby came through. She looked up at the clouds scudding across the sky and shivered. "This way," Jasper said softly, tilting his head. A tall hedge along one of the side walls, out of sight of any castle windows. A gap just big enough for a dragon to squeeze behind it. And between the hedge and the wall, well hidden from anyone watching, a rock that, rolled aside, revealed a hole in the earth. Jasper ducked into the hole and crawled through the tunnel. It was big enough for a dragon much bigger than him, though not big enough to stand up and walk through, and he'd taken care to keep the dirt dry and well-packed since he'd found it. It wasn't long before the tunnel sloped up and suddenly ended in a small space with rock overhead. "Where are we?" Ruby whispered behind him. "We're going up," he whispered back. He reached up to the loose slab of stone above his head and carefully lifted it up and to the side. He scrambled after it and turned to help Ruby climb up behind him. "Watch your head," he said, putting one of his talons between her and the shelves before she bumped into them. She stepped closer to him in the small, dimly lit space, her wings pulled in. He slid the stone back into place and opened the curtain. "Oh," she breathed, peeking out into his workroom. "This is where you live?" "Yeah. Sorry, it's a mess," he said. Most dragons in the Sky Palace had 2 rooms, one for sleeping and one adjoining that was for cooking, eating, and hosting guests. Jasper never had guests. He wasn't sure anyone did, with Scarlet as queen. So he'd converted his extra space into a workroom for building toys and fixing whatever the dragonettes broke. "It's great," she said, smiling at him. "I adore mess. As you can maybe imagine, I'm not allowed any mess of my own, so I'm wildly envious of anyone else's." She crossed the room and trailed her claws along a table scattered with gears, half-carved blocks of wood, and patched-up stuffed animals that vaguely resembled mountain goats. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "Always," she admitted ruefully. Jasper crossed to his fire pit, thanking the sky dragons that he'd been out gathering the day before, and arranged a squirrel and a talonful of nuts to roast. When he turned around, Ruby was curled on his couch, her head resting on the gold-patterned cushion he'd spent too much on, mostly because the dragonflies on it reminded him of Tourmaline's drawings. Her eyes had a spark of curiosity in them that he hadn't seen in years. She looked like a princess from a fairy tale, enchanted, but still the sweet, funny, real dragon he knew underneath the spell. "So, Jasper," she said, "why do you have a secret passage to the herb garden hidden in your closet?" "I have no idea," he admitted. "I didn't put it there. I found it when I moved in. I assume whoever lived here before me made it. Dug it? Dug it sounds funny." "Why would someone dig a secret tunnel to the herb garden?" Ruby asked. "Never mind. That's a silly question. It must have been so they could escape the palace if Scarlet ever locked them in here. Pretty smart, to install an escape route." She glanced around. Whoever it was probably knew they'd need one eventually. Scarlet always puts dragons she's suspicious of in the rooms with no windows, like this. "Do you think she's suspicious of me?" he said, nearly dropping the apple he was cutting up. No, Ruby said. "She has no idea who you are. I saw your name on a list once and asked about you, and she yelled at me not to bother her about nobodies." She winced. "I mean, not that you're a nobody. I'm sorry." "I would much rather be a nobody to Queen Scarlet," he said. Was it a list of dragons who aren't allowed to have dragonettes, maybe?" "Yes," she said hesitantly. "I'm sorry, Jasper. I can't explain anything she does." "You don't have to," he said. He brought the apples over and sat on the floor beside her. "You're trapped in her claws just like the rest of us. But one day you'll be queen, and then you can fix everything." "3 moons," she said with a startled laugh. "You can't say things like that. Long live the queen forever and ever and so on. Besides, I'd have to challenge her to make that happen, and I'm never going to do that." She shuddered. "So there's one thing that's different," Jasper thought. Tourmaline used to talk about challenging the queen all the time. She loved imagining all the ways she'd make the kingdom better once she was in charge. He'd known there must have been magic involved in changing Tourmaline to Ruby, but this was a clue that the magic came from Scarlet somehow. This magic had changed Ruby's scales and her dreams. My poor friend. Jasper took one of Ruby's talons and rested his face in her palm. Don't challenge her, he said. Please stay alive. That's the most important thing. Even though the kingdom needs a new queen, she said softly. Someone braver than me. She won't live forever, he said. They were both silent for a moment, perhaps thinking of a world with no Scarlet in it. The fire crackled softly. There was no trace of the howling wind off in the distance. It's so peaceful in here, Ruby said. She closed her eyes. It feels like the rest of the palace is so far away. They are, Jasper said. Ruby, you can come here anytime. No one will know if you come through the secret passage. I promise it's safe, and no one will find you. I want you to have a safe place to hide from her. Not allowed, she said sleepily. No friends for Ruby. I'm your friend, he said, no matter what she does. There was a quiet, comfortable pause. I love dragonflies, she murmured after a while. I know, he said. Her breathing steadied as she drifted into a deep sleep. Jasper held her talon for a moment longer, wishing he could do more, wishing he could really protect her from the queen and all the danger of being Scarlet's only heir. Then he got up, found his favorite cloud gray wool blanket, and tucked it gently around her. A hero is hatched. Ruby tried not to dance along the corridor. That would be very suspicious. Scarlet's daughter was never supposed to be happy about anything. Sometimes, when she worried she might be letting her guard down, she practiced her subdued look in the mirror, downcast eyes, blank expression. This is not a dragon with a secret love. No way. This dragon obeys her mother and has no particular thoughts of her own. She wouldn't dare have joy in her life. It seemed to be working. Ruby and Jasper had kept their secret for years. Nobody suspected Scarlet's mousy daughter of sneaking around, and the war kept Scarlet busy. The war and her awful arena of death. Who cared what Ruby was up to? Who would even notice her visiting the hatchery now and then, just to glance over all the palace eggs? Not to check on one in particular, of course. It was only one small egg among all the many skywing eggs. Small, harmless, perfect. And when it hatched, Jasper could claim the dragonette as his and say the mother had died in the war. No one had to know it was Ruby's. Such a smart plan, Ruby thought, as she turned into the hatchery and ran straight into the queen. She stumbled back, pinned under her mother's yellow-eyed glare. Ruby, Queen Scarlet said menacingly. Hi, Mother, Ruby said. She ducked her head. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Her mother growled. Horribly, it didn't sound like a question. It sounded like a formality before a ritual murder. Nothing important, Ruby said. Just visiting the hatchery, on a walk around the palace, which is a thing I do, sometimes, for, the exercise. Shut up. Here, the kitchens, the library, just, walking. Oh, really? Tell me, why would you be interested in the palace eggs? Scarlet asked. Her tail flicked slowly back and forth. tiny gold chains clinking along her spine. I mean, you couldn't be foolish enough to want one for yourself. Could you? No, Ruby said quickly. Her heart was pounding so hard she felt like her legs wouldn't be able to keep holding her up. She had to talk her way out of this. She had to be so convincing. I know the rules, I promise. I just like how quiet the hatchery is. I know I can't have an egg of my own. Of course. Absolutely. That's right, Scarlet said. So you couldn't possibly be interested in any particular egg in here. Why would I be? Ruby said faintly. Her bones were starting to scream. Too late. Such as, for instance. Scarlet held one talon out to the side, and another dragon appeared from behind her to place an egg in it. This one. Ruby's egg. She would know it anywhere. Even if she hadn't recognized the pattern of copper flecks that dotted its pale white surface, she could feel that it was hers at some level deep below her scales. Scarlet smiled darkly at the look on Ruby's face. Who? Why? Ruby started. This helpful hatchery watcher, the Queen said, flicking her wing at the dragon beside her. He works for me, and his entire job is to tell me if a strange egg shows up in the night, or if my disobedient daughter starts coming around for mysterious visits, especially if those two things happen at the same time. The hatchery worker gave Ruby an agonized, apologetic look. A part of her felt sorry for him, but a much bigger part of her felt intensely betrayed. He'd been friendly when she visited, nodding at her from across the hatchery as she walked around it. He could have ignored her presence and the egg she'd smuggled in. No matter how Scarlet controlled him, he could have kept Ruby's secret. But he'd chosen not to. He'd handed her baby right into Scarlet's vicious claws. You are an idiot, Ruby, said the Queen. Who is the father? No one important, Ruby said. I'm sorry, Mother. Please don't hurt my egg. That's hilarious, Scarlet said. Obviously, I'm not letting you keep it. But it's a boy, Ruby said desperately. Just a little prince, a dragonette who'll never be able to challenge you. I'm sure of it. She wasn't, of course. There was no way to be sure, unless you had the sea wing animus-touched treasure that could predict it. But it was her only hope. You can't possibly know that, Scarlet said. What a desperate, absurd thing to say. I think it is, Ruby said. It might be. She took a deep breath. And if it isn't a boy, if I have a female dragonette, you can kill me and let her be your one living heir instead. The Queen squinted at her. Ruby wasn't sure she'd ever seen her mother look puzzled before. A moment later, the expression was gone, and Scarlet's face settled into her usual contemptuous sneer. Really? You would sacrifice yourself for a pointless dragon you've never even met? I would, Ruby said. And wouldn't you rather have a newly hatched dragonette as your heir? That is appealing, Scarlet said thoughtfully. I could train her to be smarter than you. That wouldn't be difficult. Ruby shivered, trying not to imagine what that life would be like for a little dragon. Maybe Jasper could steal her away and escape. As long as my dragonette lives, there's still hope. Anything is possible. She held her breath, watching her egg teetering in her mother's talons. Finally, Queen Scarlet snorted. Very well. It is kind of a thrilling gamble. Amusing either way. Let's roll these unnecessary dice and see if you live or die. She tossed the egg casually back to the hatchery worker, but Ruby lunged forward and caught it before he could. She cradled her egg to her chest, hoping her dragonette could somehow feel how much she loved it. I suppose I can go tell Peril her services aren't needed here after all, Scarlet said with a dark chuckle. She regarded Ruby for another long, scornful moment. Absolutely pathetic, she said at last, and swept out of the hatchery. I'm sorry, Princess, the hatchery worker whispered as soon as the queen was gone. Ruby turned away from him and carried her egg to a nest in the far corner of the room. She set it gently among the warm rocks and kept one talon on it, using the other to wipe her tears away. You'll be all right, she murmured. I'm here, and she doesn't know about your dad. We'll protect you, little one. It felt like an empty promise, with Queen Scarlet's power looming over her whole life. Maybe we should steal you and run away now. She didn't know where they would go. The talons of peace, maybe? Ruby glanced around and saw the hatchery worker over by the entrance. He'd been joined by 2 soldiers, and she realized with a sinking heart that of course Scarlet would expect her to try to run, and of course she would put loyal guards in the way to stop her. And she has her pet monster standing by to burn my egg if I try. Just like she burned all those eggs that should have hatched on the brightest night. The brightest night was almost 7 years ago. If the prophecy was real, the dragonettes who were going to save the world should be showing up soon. Maybe they would change everything. Maybe they would do whatever they were going to do in time to save Ruby and her egg. Ruby would have to wait and hope. Ruby's egg hatched on an unusually freezing night. The air smelled like snow, and the cold wind rattled through the open palace windows and skylights, howling through the central tower. Fires were lit in hollows around the hatchery to keep the eggs warm. The only good thing about Scarlet knowing about Ruby's egg was that Ruby could be there when it hatched. She stayed curled up beside it the whole day, resting her chin on her front talons and watching as it rocked and little cracks appeared in the shell. Well, the queen's voice echoed through the space, as cold as the air above the clouds. Scarlet strode through the hatchery, carelessly whacking into other eggs with her tail as she paced by. She stopped next to Ruby and looked down her nose at the egg. This is taking forever. You made a slow one, no surprise. There, Ruby whispered. A little claw had poked through one side. Ruby reached out and gently touched it with one of her own. Please don't let this be the only moment I have with my dragonette. Come on out, Scarlet demanded. We all want to know if your mother gets to survive the night, little dragon. She grinned at Ruby with all her teeth. The suspense, so thrilling. Ruby didn't say anything. She felt like she was floating away from some former version of her. That Ruby could only ever think about what her mother wanted, and what her mother thought of her, and whether she was in trouble. This Ruby had someone else to care about, someone who needed her, someone who mattered so much more. The egg shivered, and bits of shell started falling off as the dragonette inside clawed its way out. Crack, and crack, and crack, and her dragonette was free. And he was perfect. He shook himself vigorously and looked up into Ruby's eyes, and she knew immediately that he was going to be the smartest, most handsome, most talented, astonishing, heroic dragon who had ever lived. He beamed at her. Hi, baby, she whispered, holding out her talons so he could climb into them. Yawn, Scarlet said. Well, that's disappointing. We could have had such a grand execution right here. Blood splattered all over the hatchery. It would have been lovely and dramatic. She snorted. Fine, whatever. You can keep your boring little prince, for now, as long as he doesn't annoy me. Scarlet turned and swept out of the hatchery, dismissing the guards at the door with a wave of her talon. Ruby cuddled her dragonette close, not quite believing what had just happened. There had been a part of her that was sure Scarlet would kill one or both of them, no matter who came out of the egg. She must really think I'm no threat at all, Ruby thought, even after I disobeyed her. She thinks she doesn't need to spend one extra moment worrying about me or what I might do, because she knows I'm always too scared to do anything. Cop, the little prince said confidently. He reached up and bonked her snout. Yob gob scubble funk, gibble, barble smick gob bleeble. Ruby laughed. Exactly, she said to him. That's what I was thinking. Yarble bobble gibble, he added, flapping his wings. That's such a good point, she said. You're the smartest baby ever. She squeezed him and he squawked in protest. Do you want to know your name, smartest baby ever? Flabble scobble? He suggested cheerfully. Close, she said. We've decided to call you Cliff. Prince Cliff. Do you like it? Meh, said the prince. His stomach went rawr, and he gave her a pitiful, wide-eyed expression. Yeah, we can fix that, she said, giggling. Let's go to the kitchens. Maybe there'll just happen to be a very kind wingery caretaker there with some extra snacks for you. She tucked him into one of the hatchery slings as he flailed around, burbling energetically, and she felt like her heart was expanding to fill her whole body. Maybe Mother is wrong about me. Maybe she can't see how Jasper and Cliff have changed me, and will keep changing me. Maybe one day, I won't be scared of her at all. And now back to me, the original, actual teller of this story. Mommy! Mommy! Mom! Mommy! I burst through the doorway to our rooms and threw myself at her legs and climbed right up to her shoulder and yelled, Mommy! One more time in her ear, just to make extra sure she was listening. Oh my goodness, Cliff, she said, lifting me back down to the floor and crouching to put her face on the same level as my face. I like it when she does that. What is it? What are you so excited about? There are weird dragons in the castle, I announced. So weird. One of them is a millionish colors, all the colors at once. Colors I never even seen before, like pink and green and greenish pink and purpley orangey mauve. What? She said. And another one has black scales. Isn't that so cool? A nightwing? She said. Really? Here. In the arena, I said. Grandma brought them in this morning all covered in chains. He's a prisoner, and he's gonna have to whap, stab, punch, whoosh, fire, smash somebody. Wow, Mommy said faintly. And there's a little one who is kind of a sandwing, but she's extra yellow, and her tail is all wrong. How do you think she got like that? She's really nice. I hope she doesn't have to whap, fire, smash, battle anybody, because I thinks maybe she wouldn't be so good at it. Wait, Mommy said. How do you know she's really nice? You didn't talk to her, did you? Why not? I demanded. She was all alone, in a cage, and she heard me singing, and she said my song was awesome. So she's smart, too. But the queen, Mommy started. She wasn't there, I bristled. I didn't bother her. I wouldn't. I's way smarter than that. Okay, all right, I know, she said, patting my head. I'm just making sure. So, a nightwing, a rainwing, and a funny-looking sandwing. I wonder where she caught them and why she's digging up weird dragons. Thrush said there was a mudwing and a seawing with them too, I told her. But they're just normal-ish and boring. We see those all the time. Wait. Mommy sat up and looked out the window. a mudwing, a sea wing, a nightwing, and a sandwing. Are you sure there wasn't a skywing with them? I don't know. I didn't get to watch them get here because I knew Grandma was coming back, so I was hiding from her. I bounced to my feet. Want me to find out? I could go investigate. Definitely not, Mommy said. I'll ask around and see what's happening. Then you have to tell me, I said. Promise? I will, she said. But you're supposed to be in the wingery right now. How did you escape? Same way as always, I said, grinning. Mommy acts like she's mad when I run off and explore, but I think she thinks I am actually very clever and also too smart to get into big trouble, which is true. For one thing, I have figured out what Grandma smells like so I can run away if she's close by, and I also have hundreds of super great hiding spots all over the Sky Palace. I'm the most stealthy when I want to be. Which is not most of the time because, mostly, I want everyone to notice me and watch me and pay attention to me. But not if they are Grandma. I'm going to walk you back right now, she said. Okay, I agreed. I actually liked the wingery a lot and had lots of friends and could almost fly already even though I was one of the littlest ones there. But I also sometimes wanted to see more things. Like weird extra dragons in the castle. I mean, the Rush couldn't just tell us he saw weird dragons arriving and then think I wouldn't go looking for them. Mommy, I said, pouncing on her tail as she headed to the door. I have another guess. But you know I'm not going to tell you if you're right, she said. I know, I said. Not yet, but one day you'll tell me, won't you? I hope so, she said. Okay, I said. Ready? Is it Osprey? She started giggling, which is my super favorite thing when I can make her laugh like that. Which happens a lot because I am very funny. Cliff, she said. Osprey was already ancient when I was your age. Oh, I said. Isn't you ancient? I thought you were the same age-ish. 3 moons, she said. No honey apples for you for the rest of the month. But she was making her Cliff is so silly face, so I knew she didn't mean it. Then is it Russet? I asked. I can't tell you, she said. I'm sorry, Cliff. I just really want to keep your dad safe. I know, I said. I hopes it not Russet. He took Sunset's candy away just because she sneezed on him. So mean. She didn't do it on purpose. Oh dear, said Mommy. I hope it's Jasper, I said, trotting along next to her. He the nicest dragon in the whole castle. Apart from you, I mean. She gave me a funny smile. Aw, she said. That's very sweet, love bug. Silly Mommy. I was mostly almost completely sure my dad was Jasper. Because every time I said something like that about him, she made that same mushy face. Also, he was definitely extra nice to me, which nobody else probably even noticed because he was so nice to everyone. But I could tell he always spent extra time saying, ooh, wow, at my drawings and amazing at my songs and catching me during flying practice. Yeah, I said, doing one of my dance walks I invented as we went down the hall. He's pretty great. The rest of that day was kind of normal, but after that, all sorts of wild, sparky things started happening, and I missed almost all of it because whenever that big sandwing Burn comes to visit, Mommy makes me stay in our rooms until she's gone. Which is fine, because she is so scary. Even Carnelian is scared of her, although she says she's not, but she definitely is, and Carnelian's not scared of anybody. There was a big celebration for Grandma's hatching day, which was another good reason to stay out of sight, because dragons get very loud and annoying during parties like that, and I wasn't allowed to watch the arena fights anyway, even though I am very tough and would not have been bothered at all. Mommy said that wasn't the main reason, actually, and that she was actually kind of scared that one day Grandma would get bored and make me fight in the arena. Which, I knew I would win. Maybe by doing some awesome dance moves until the other dragon gave up. But I definitely didn't want to have to do that because my plan was to use the arena for my starring performances one day, and it would be sad if my big debut was as just another fighter. That's what I thought about that. So I was in Mommy's rooms by myself, making a huge battle scene with my toys, when all of a sudden, there was all this roaring and screaming from outside. It sounded like the whole castle was about to fall down. I ran to the window and saw a chaos of dragons, like at least 1 million of them, flying away from the arena, all crashing into one another and yelling about something. Would you stay in your room if you saw that? I know I said I wouldn't leave, but Mommy and I never talked about what to do if something really exciting happened. Like, for instance, everybody in the entire palace screaming and fleeing the arena like it was full of fire bombs. Out in the hall, I ran into Sunset, one of my friends from the wingery. "What's happening?" I shouted. "I don't know," she shouted back. "Why is there screaming?" Sunset's dad also doesn't want her to watch the arena fights, which makes sense because everything makes Sunset throw up, even totally normal things like tearing apart a weasel in front of her. And then what happens is the dragonette who accidentally splattered the weasel's blood on Sunset gets in huge trouble and has to clean it all up, which is so gross and unfair. And anyway, my point is, she definitely would not be able to watch dragons fighting. "I'm going to find out," I said to her. "I'll come with you," she said, bounding after me. "Oh my gosh, do you think maybe the queen is dead?" "Oh, wow," I said. I had not thought about that at all. No way. Nothing can kill Queen Scarlet. "Yeah, that's what Daddy says too," Sunset agreed. "But remember that history lesson we just had?" "No," I said. "Like 2 days ago?" she said. "About Queen Oasis and how she died?" "Oh, yeah," I said. "Something weird and little got her, right? Hedgehog! That's right, it was a hedgehog." "It was not," she said. "It was a scavenger." I said, wrinkling my snout at her. "Pretty sure it was a hedgehog." "You are a goose," she said. "It was a scavenger, and so maybe a scavenger got Queen Scarlet too." I scoffed at her. "No way." "Maybe way," she said, stopping to stamp one of her feet. We could see the central cavern now, where dragons were running and flying all around. Someone shouted, "Where's the queen?" And someone else was yelling about getting in formation. I realized I didn't know where to find my mom, or Jasper, who, even if he turned out not to be my dad, would be a really excellent good dragon to look for in a crisis, I figured. There was no wingery today because of the hatching day celebration, and Mommy sometimes had to be right next to Grandma and sometimes was sent off to fight, and there was no way to know which would happen because Grandma was very unpredictable, which I have figured out is another way of saying she's so grumpy, don't ask questions. "I'ma go check the kitchens," I said. Sometimes Jasper would spend his days off baking treats for the wingery, so I knew it would be a smart place to look. "Okay," Sunset said. "I'm going up to the top to see what I can see from there." "Be careful," I said. "You too," she called as she ran off. "Watch out for hedgehogs!" I shouted after her. I couldn't smell Grandma anywhere nearby, but I kept sniffing as I ran down the spiral just to be safe. Once, I thought I saw a blue dragon fly by and I thought, "Ah, we're being attacked by sea wings." But then there weren't any others, so maybe I imagined it. Also, the noise everywhere wasn't like smash, smash, swords bashing, battle yelling stuff. It was more like lots of dragons running and hiding and doors slamming. And I didn't think Queen Scarlet would let everybody hide if we were actually attacked. Plus, Skywings are really brave, so something else extra scary must have happened. The kitchens smelled like burning, and no one was busy chopping or stirring or all the things they usually did. I peeked around the doorway and didn't see Jasper anywhere. But some of the cooks were standing near one of the windows, whispering to one another. Maybe they knew what was happening, although they probably wouldn't tell me if I asked them. So I snuck across the room, like I said before, the most stealthy, and hid under a table where I could hear them. "But where did she go?" one of them was saying. "Didn't anyone see?" "The Queen or the Rain Wing," said another. "Either of them." "It can't have been the Rain Wing," a third one interrupted. "They don't attack anyone, and they definitely can't melt a dragon's face." "Can they?" "I swear that's what Boulder said," said the second dragon. "He was looking right at her and she suddenly woke up and sprayed some kind of terrifying substance all over the place. He said she probably killed hundreds of dragons and it was a miracle he survived." "Yeah, right," said the third dragon. "Sounds like the time Boulder single-handedly defeated 30 sea wings. His favorite, definitely true story." "Okay, maybe. But whatever she did, it scared Queen Burn away," said the last dragon in the group, lashing her tail. Queen Burn. She shot into the sky with all her sand wings behind her. I think that's what scared everyone else the most. "Can we go back to how no one knows where Queen Scarlet is?" said the first dragon. "Isn't that the most worrying part?" They all went really quiet for a minute. I tried to stay quiet too, so they wouldn't catch me, because this was maybe the most exciting story I'd ever heard. Nobody ever told me rain wings could be terrifying. That was the total opposite of what we learned in the wingery. While I was trying to imagine the fast-asleep rainbow dragon doing anything scary, I saw something move near the live prey pit. It was being way stealthy, just like me, so it took me a while to figure out it was a scavenger. And it was doing something with an empty potato sack. Weird. What if Queen Scarlet is dead? One of the cooks said in a hushed voice. "We shouldn't talk about that," said one of the others, glancing around nervously. "But if she is," he insisted, "then shh." The others flapped their wings at him and scattered to different parts of the kitchen. So that was the end of my clever eavesdropping. I would have run off to keep looking for Mommy, but the scavenger was being even more interesting and weird all of a sudden. It was scurrying around the grate on top of the prey pit, lowering a long thread between the bars and wrestling with the padlock that kept the grate closed. After doing that for a bit, it kicked the padlock and made a little frustrated grrr sound. "What are you doing?" I asked. It jumped nearly as high as I can. It was so startled, and the look on its face was so funny. "You don't want to go in there," I said, "silly scavenger." "Squeak, squeak, squeak," said the scavenger, flapping its little paws at me. "I'm serious," I said. "That's where we keep our food. Food like you." I pretended to pounce on something next to the grate. "See? We catch it, pow! And then we push it in here, Wham! And then later we has it for snacks. Yum! The scavenger blinked at me in confusion, even though I was being perfectly clear. Do you want me to eat you? I asked. It was kind of too big for me to eat all by myself, but I guess I could try. If it would be helpful for some reason. It pointed at the padlock and chattered something completely mystifying. Sometimes, when I am very confused or having other big feelings, it helps me to sing about them. I sat down and let the music come to me. Oh, I have a new friend who smells like meat, I sang, and I think he really wants me to eat him, which is weird because then he'll be gone. And that would be a very sad end to this song. The scavenger started backing away and I don't really know if their faces mean the same things as our faces, but if they do, I would say it looked nervous. Which is not the right reaction to my singing, excuse me. Why else would a scavenger be near a pit? I sang a little louder. Full of food and oh my gosh, that's it! I stood up and bounced around a little. I bet you have friends down in that hole and... Mole? Stole? Pole? Oh, and saving them from death is your mighty goal. Okay, that was a genius song, if I do say so myself. But instead of applauding, the scavenger turned and bolted under the sacks to hide. Rude. Cliff, said a voice behind me. Why are you in the kitchen singing at a time like this? Jasper, I cried, running over to hug one of his legs. I found you. We have to get you somewhere safe, he said. No one knows where Queen Scarlet is. Whoa, she's not here, I pointed out. I would smell her if she was. Even so, he said, it's pandemonium out there, and you can't be wandering around singing at the top of your lungs. I wasn't, I protested. I was sitting perfectly still singing at the top of my lungs. Cliff, your mother is probably looking for you and losing her mind, Jasper said. Well then, she should stay still because I am looking for her, I said, very sensibly. He gave me a face I get all the time, which is the old, you totally won this argument, but I have to act like you didn't because I'm the grown-up face. Come on and we can find her together, he said. Wait, I said, I have to show you something. I ran over to the potato sacks and flung them aside, revealing the scavenger underneath. Look what I found! And guess what I think I figured out? I think it's trying to rescue the other scavengers from the prey pit. Did you know that could happen? Unless maybe it's actually trying to get a pig or a goat for itself. I guess that's possible too. Okay, it is either stealing prey or saving its friends, and I think we should give it the key. Which was up on a hook out of my reach, by the way, if you're wondering why I hadn't already done that myself. I couldn't quite fly that high yet. Jasper sighed. If I let you give it the key, will you come with me? Sure, I said happily, as he lifted the key down from its hook. Hooray! I'm such a good helper. He gave it to me, and I gave it to the scavenger, who nearly fell over when I put it in its paws. If you are stealing prey, don't eat the mountain lions, I told it. Mom says those are Grandma's favorite, and even if she might be dead-ish or melted into a puddle of goo, we should still try not to make her mad. Excellent advice, Jasper said. Entirely related to what we should be doing right now. All right, I said. Bye, scavenger. Good luck not getting eaten. Or getting eaten, if that's what she's trying to do. It wasn't until we were out of the kitchens that I thought, hey, Maybe Sunset was right, and that scavenger killed Queen Scarlet. Maybe it's like a serial dragon killer who killed Queen Oasis and is running around trying to stab other dragons. Except it didn't stab me, and it looked way too little and floppy to hurt a dragon. Oh, right, and the cooks said the rainwing did it. With scary goop. Wild. Jasper put me on his back so we could hurry through the halls more easily. Boringly, he went straight back to Mommy's rooms, but he was right, because we bonked into her coming out of them. "There you are," she said. "Thank the moons. Quick, come in and hide." "Wait," I said, pulling on Jasper's ears as we went through the door. "All of us? Mommy, why are you hiding?" "Because someone attacked Queen Scarlet," Mommy said. She lifted me off Jasper's back and curled up on the cushions with me while he closed the door. "So wherever she is, I imagine she's quite furious and ready to murder anyone who comes across her path." "But what if she's dead?" I asked. Mommy stopped, blinking. "Well, she can't be." "Why not?" "Because she can't. I mean, she wouldn't just... Not like that." "Why not?" "Because..." Mommy looked at me for a minute. "I guess because I think she's too scary to let something like a rainwing take her down." "That's what everyone thought about Queen Oasis," Jasper said, "and then a scavenger got her." "Okay, fine. I guess Sunset was right. Probably a hedgehog killed some other dragon, though." Mommy rubbed her forehead. "So," I said, "if she is dead, doesn't that mean you the queen now?" That made Mommy look even more surprised, which was funny because I thought that's what she was surprised about in the first place. "It's true," Jasper said. "There's only one heir. No one else to try and start a new war over the throne, thank the moons. Although," Mommy said, "we should be careful of Byrne. She might try to take charge of our armies. She will try to. That's exactly what she would do." "So you tell her no," I said, bopping Mommy's neck with my fists. "No, that's not yours. It's my turn." Mommy tipped her head at Jasper, and he said, "We're working on using appropriate language around toy sharing in the wingery. It's an evolving process." Whatever that means. Then he added, "But Cliff's right. If you want to keep our armies safe, you have to make sure you control them. Not Byrne, who won't care if they all end up dying for her." "This is madness," Mommy said. "Scarlet isn't dead. I'm not queen." "But if she is, and you is," I said, "I is thinking maybe you should go check, and maybe sit on your throne before someone else does. Sunset sits on my favorite cushion all the time, if I don't get there early, and it is so annoying." Mommy looked at Jasper again, and he said, "I mean, the Sky Wings need a queen. Whatever has happened, they're going to be looking for a calm, strong leader to step in." "That's not me," Mommy said. 3 moons, who are you talking about?" He came over, sat beside her, and took one of her talons in his. "It is you. There's a great queen inside you. Scarlet has done something to scare you, or magic you into thinking you're not. But I know you. I've always known you. You'll be a brilliant Skywing queen, and I've always known that." She made her mushiest face right back into his really, really mushy face. See, I knew I was right, and said, "I can't believe there's a dragon in the world who thinks that about me." "There is," he said. "There's 2," I interrupted, because it was getting very mushy, and I felt like no one had paid any attention to me in forever. "Thank you, Cliff," Mommy said, wrapping her arms and wings around me and squishing me close, which was more squashy attention than I was looking for. Then she handed me to Jasper and stood up. "All right, I guess I'm going to go claim my throne." "Yes!" I shouted. "Well, maybe," she said, "unless it turns out Mother is fine." She stopped Jasper as he started to stand up too. "And just in case, will you please stay here with Cliff?" "No!" I shouted. "Just until I know for sure what's happening," Mommy said. "Calm down, Cliff." "Okay," I said. "You go be queen, and Jasper can make me a snack." She smiled, took a deep breath, and swept out of the room in a really totally queen-like way. I think. I'd only seen scary queens before that, so seeing a pretty awesome and nice one was kinda different, but she seemed very queenish to me. Jasper and I looked at each other. "Wow," he said. "I knew you were my dad," I said. He laughed. "Well, Ruby did mention that you're the smartest dragonette who's ever lived. We should have known you'd figure it out." His face got serious again. "But maybe still keep it a secret until we know for sure if Scarlet is dead, okay?" "Okay," I said. "Snack?" "Snack," he said, and then he picked me up and hugged me in a real dad way, and I didn't mind one bit. And that is the story of how Prince Cliff of the Sky Wings, future hero of the world, was hatched. See? Isn't it great that I came along despite how dangerous it was to have me? Don't you think the Sky Dragons must have a big destiny planned for me? And did you see how I convinced Mommy to go be queen? That was pretty useful of me, right? So now she is Queen Ruby, and everything in the whole Sky Kingdom is much better, and we are all going to live. Ready? Happily ever after! Hooray! The end. For now. This is Shannon Mc Manus. We hope that you have enjoyed this production of Wings of Fire, Winglets, Book 5, Hero, A Wings of Fire story by Tui T. Sutherland. This audiobook was produced by Dion Audio. Executive producer Melanie Gagne. Ebook edition published by Scholastic Press, an imprint of Scholastic Inc. Text copyright 2026 by Tui T. Sutherland. Production copyright 2026 by Scholastic Inc. All rights reserved.